What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Fargo Season 3, Episode 2, The Principle of Restricted Choice. Yes, I realize this was not last night's episode, but I've fallen behind, so sue me. Actually, on second thought, I don't have any money, so don't sue me, because you wouldn't get anything. I would just lose money, and we'd all be in shit. So, let's talk about this episode. This was a bit more story building as far as I think where this season is starting to go, and this is what I've come to expect out of Fargo. You know, obviously the first two seasons they had a very similar storyline in that there was somebody who was killed in the first episode, and it was by somebody who was just kind of unassuming, didn't really know what to do after that. And it was kind of their story of trying to cover it up, trying to pretend like nothing was wrong with them. And then, you know, obviously it was a different from how that branched out. But it was very similar in how it began. This one is definitely starting off a bit different in that we have we have two deaths from the first episode. One was the guy, I think his name's Maurice. He kills the old man Ennis in thinking he's trying to get his stamps, and then he gets killed in turn by the one of the Stussy brothers. I can't remember his name now. I'm gonna get these names down probably halfway through the season, but for now I'm just gonna call them younger Stussy and older Stussy, because the younger one is the one that's trying to get all the money, and the older one is the one that's lived in the house and he's doing fine. So the younger Stussy ends up killing him with the help of his girlfriend, fiance, and so honestly, it's kind of different in that respect. In that, you know, the first two seasons it was somebody who was very unassuming, who doesn't seem like they would be. Oh, I would never kill anybody. Oh, no, 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 not me, not me. This one though, it's very much like he was already kind of a bad dude, and the fiance helped out as well. So it was almost like they are possibly killers. And it was kind of funny in this episode. They brought up that one moment where she's talking to him, and she's like, "Oh no, you're not a killer," and he's just like, "Oh no, neither are you." And just watching her, how she reacted to when the guy left the apartment, it seems like she kind of is. Like, I don't know. Her first thought was, I'm gonna pull this air conditioning unit out of the wall and drop it on his head. That's kind of the thought process of a killer. But in that respect, this season is definitely going a bit different. So I enjoy seeing that. I enjoy seeing how we're not really going to take the same route as we have in the first two seasons. So there has been a lot of story building in these two episodes, and a lot of it's really enjoyable. I mean, you have that same kind of strange Fargo feel to it. You know, you got the guy talking to the Ennis's, I think it's his stepdaughter, the chief. Well, I guess soon not to be chief. But he's talking to her and her son, talking to them about Ennis, and he's just talking about him like he's a horrible person, saying stuff like that. And yeah, oh, have you talked to your mom yet? And he's like, oh, I would if she were still alive. He's like, oh right, she's cremated already. She's in whatever section of the crematorium. So I don't know, just that talk pervades this entire episode. And a lot of it's really funny. Some of it is kind of uncomfortable. You're just like, real people wouldn't say that, and it's very, very harsh and awkward. But that is kind of part of the charm of the show, is that a lot of it doesn't feel realistic at all. So they continue that going on, but a lot of it is just building the story of the Stussy brothers and kind of building a little bit of story of what's going on outside of them. You know, the people that are connected to it, like the chief, like what was the other part? Like the people VM, I think is his name, that guy coming in. All of these stories are being built around kind of the two Stussy brothers. They seem to be the center of focus. You know, even with all these deaths, even with the different things going on, that seems to be where the main focus is going to lie this season. So a couple things that happened that just kind of stood out to me. Obviously, a lot happens in the show, and kind of like how what I said with Legion, it's a show where a lot happens in one episode, and so I'm probably gonna miss a few things, but I'm gonna do my best to remember as much as I can. Uh, so we'll start off with the Chief's story. We see that she's going to work after kind of going through some of Ennis's things, trying to figure out what exactly happened, who came and killed him. I did talk about in the first review that I thought part of what was going to help kind of get the police on the track of who killed the old man. I figured the guy Maurice probably didn't do a good job of, like, he was like stoned off of his mind, so probably he didn't clean up after himself. Probably fingerprints everywhere, all over the crime scene. And so I figured, they match up his prints to the guy that died by air conditioning unit. And so they look into that a little bit more, like, was that actually an accident? But we come to find out that apparently this police department where this woman, I'm going to get her name down, don't worry, where she works, apparently they're very, like, against technology, or at least the old chief before she took over was. So they don't really have computers, which means they probably don't have, like, a CSI team either. So all of a sudden my idea of, oh yeah, they'll find his fingerprints just goes out the window. Like, they probably don't have fingerprinting people. So yeah, that's going to make it a lot harder to figure out who did it. But according to one of the things that the younger Stussy brother, he goes on the computer to look up the guy who died. One of the things that he sees is it's an accidental death. So they haven't really made that connection yet. And I'm assuming at some point we may get there. I don't know how, but I figure at some point we'll probably get to that realization. But for now, it's going to probably be a little bit longer before they figure it out, just because this police department doesn't really have technology, doesn't have computers, doesn't really have good record keeping. So I'm interested to see how they manage to figure it out with all of these hindrances going on. But after she meets the new guy coming in, it sounds like he's from New York maybe, but apparently they're kind of merging, and that's the part of me that's just like, oh, he's probably not exactly living in New York right now, but he sounds like he's got a New York accent for some reason. But apparently they're merging their department with a bigger department because they're so small, and so this guy's going to come in and take over. He's very strict, and he's kind of going to be that, I guess, that chief that is putting down the police chief or the police officer that we're supposed to be rooting for, like in the first couple seasons. But in this one, it does feel a bit more like he actually has a bit of a reason. Whereas the first two seasons, that police officer that we were rooting for, that's just like, yeah, they're super smart, they're awesome. Why are they being put down by the police chief, who's clearly an idiot? This one, it definitely feels a lot more like this guy knows what he's doing, and he doesn't really give them the respect that they probably deserve just because of how they're running their department. So I'll be interested to see how that sort of plays out, and whether or not he starts to see the value of whatever her name is. And then, of course, there's the scene where she goes to, I guess, get the work done to probably cremate Ennis's body. And I think that was about it for her story in this one. As far as the younger Stussy brother is concerned, he is, like I said, he looks on the computer, finds out about the guy, says it's an accidental death, but then he goes to his fiancée, Nikki, I think is her name. He goes to her and tells her, it's an accidental death, but she's kind of like not really paying attention to him because I guess she really wants to get the stamp, and so she just finds a reason why they have to go get the stamp. Like, your chi is just all blocked up. We have to go get that stamp to help you clear your chi, or would you rather just go apologize for everything? And of course he doesn't want to do that, so they set up this plan where he pretends to apologize to him, but she goes and gets the stamp in the meantime. Well, she gets up there and the stamp is gone and it's a picture of a donkey. And so of course she immediately assumes, oh, he's just calling me an ass. And then all of a sudden unzips her pants. I'm like, what is going on here? And then all of a sudden I remember, wait a minute, she said she was on her period. Oh no. Oh no. And then sure enough, older Stussy brother walks up into the room, sees the lamp is still on, goes in, and written in period blood is now who's the ass? And I'm just like, okay. That's disgusting. And we come to find out, it's actually kind of funny how they set this up, because she goes back to the younger Stussy brother and it's just like, oh, he saw it coming the entire time. He should have seen it. He called us an ass, and it's terrible. The whole time, it turns out, apparently he was having the case cleaned, and so that's why he had the stamp moved. And so he's thinking, oh, it's such a clever plan, and they're thinking, oh, it's such a clever plan. And so it turns out it's just this huge misunderstanding. Like, they were trying to steal the stamp, he was just getting it clean, but they assumed that he knew they were trying to steal, And so he assumes that they're like some brilliant masterminds when in reality it was such a simple ploy. And what makes it even funnier though is that the younger Stussy brother, after going through that conversation and apologizing to his older brother, he's just like, you know what? I actually do feel better. My chief feels really clean. It feels like we actually made some progress there. And then of course Nikki wants the stamp. She's like, no, 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 we can't just let this happen. You know, he clearly knew this was coming and he put that up there on purpose. And so she convinces him to still go after the stamp. Um, but ultimately, what ends up happening is the older brother sends Sai, who's the right hand man with the mustache and everything. He sends him to go talk to his younger brother to kind of say, you know, okay, that's it, you're done. You know, no more. We're not talking to you anymore. You're pretty much cut off. And so he meets him in a diner, and so they have that talk. And of course, the younger brother's just like, you know, wow, whatever, whatever, I don't care. And Sai is just like constantly saying, you know, you're done, and just acting all tough and mean. And so he gives him like I think a 20 maybe. Says this is the last bit of money you're ever gonna get from our estate. And so as he's leaving, he's just middle finger all the way out the door. And then he's walking to his car. He knocks on the window and gives it to him again. And so then Sai backs up right into his car, and I'm just like, oh dang. And then he rides forward and then backs into his car again, and it just middle finger out the window as he's leaving, and accidentally hits a woman's car on the way. I'm like, oh no. Oh, this is so childish, and this is just going to lead to more fighting, more people dying in the process, probably. And I'm just like, dang, all of this is just building up, and it's so childish. And this is going to be how the conflict begins, no doubt. And it kind of fits, you know, like, I understand it is very childish. It's like, oh, come on, you're just hitting each other's car because you're mad at each other because of some stupid stamp. But the truth is, I mean, that is how they are acting. They're acting like spoiled brats. And so it kind of makes sense that this is how they would start the fight, by just being complete brats. Um, of course, I think a lot of the main, like, I guess, conflict for this season is probably going to come more from VM and whatever he's got going on. Because we see in this one, the older brother goes and talks to, I guess, their accountant, maybe. I'm not really sure who the guy was to them, but they have him looking it up. It's kind of funny because he's an older guy, and so he's just like, how does this technology work? Because it is 2010, so I think that's about when technology really started taking off, and Google was probably just beginning. I can't remember. I can't really remember because 2010 feels like so long ago for me, which I know sounds weird because I'm younger, but seriously, I hardly remember what 2010 was like. Um, but it was kind of funny, you know, he's sitting there and doesn't really know what's going on, and his assistant or receptionist comes in. She helps him out, but then all of a sudden, like, the computer shows their faces and then just cuts off. And her computer's cut off, and the entire network is cut off. It's like, wait, what just happened? Well, the guy's walking towards his car, all of a sudden there's this Russian guy talking to him, and then this Chinese, maybe Japanese, I don't know, he's Asian. I know that sounds awful, but I don't know. I know it should be obvious, and I'm probably an ignorant American for that, but yeah. But anyway, so these all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere, and so they both like grab him and toss him off of the parking garage. It's like, oh, okay. So here's where our body count's gonna come from this season. And sure enough, you know, VM shows up at their offices the next day, and he's got these two men with him, and they're just bringing in all of these boxes. He's like, nah, these two guys are gonna help and stay here with you, and just pretty much tells them, you know, we're partners now, deal with it. Which is kind of interesting, just the way he's handling it is very forceful. And I don't really know who this guy is or what he's supposed to represent, but it sounds like he's trying to make a quick buck in America. And so he's trying to, you know, find loopholes to sort of make as much money as possible. And so he's using the Stussy's business to do that. The whole parking, I don't even. It's like they own these parking places where people have to pay to park, and so they're making money off of that. And this guy says, "Oh well, since you don't keep your records on a computer, well, how can people know whether or not you're keeping these records accurately?" And so he sees this as a potential money-making opportunity. And of course, he's also got like this big truck full of stuff that I don't know what's in it, and they don't know what's in it. And another humorous conversation where Sai's like, do you think it could be? And then Stussy's just like, you don't think And he's just like, maybe slave girls? I'm like, slave girls? I was thinking drugs. You think you could have slave girls back there? So I don't know. I really like some of the jokes that they're making. Some of them are really funny. Some of them really work inside the world that the show is in. But I mean, all in all, it's really enjoyable. I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen next. I mean, there's a lot going on. So I'm assuming at some point we are going to hit a moment where it's like, okay, so I'm guessing the older Stussy brother is probably going to piss off VM, and it's kind of going to ignite some sort of war between the two, or feud. On top of that, we also got the two Stussy brothers arguing with each other, and then of course we've got the police station trying to figure out who murdered Ennis, which eventually is going to come back to the younger Stussy brother. So I feel like it's just going to be all these people kind of fighting and trying to figure out what's going on at the same time. I'm looking forward to it. It's already got a very good setup. It's already feeling like, while it still does feel Fargo-ish, it still feels like it's a new season. It's a new story to tell, and I love that. You know, that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about season 2 is that it took the feeling of season 1. It took the narrative and the kind of the all around tone of season 1 and turned it into a new story for season 2. That's kind of how season 3 feels so far. You know, it's only the 2 episodes in, of course, so anything can happen from here. But right now, it's got the same tone, but it feels like an entirely new story, and I love it whenever a show can do that. So, really looking forward to seeing what they got for the rest of the season. Obviously, got one more episode to get caught up on before I'm caught up completely. But I am doing my best to get caught up, so just bear with me. I'll have, hopefully, the episode 3 watched maybe by this weekend. Fingers crossed. Got a lot going on, so don't know for sure. But that's about it for this episode. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did you like and dislike about this episode? Is there anything that I missed that you want to talk about? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Fargo reviews, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace out.